Hey everyone, welcome back to the 50/50 project. This episode is going to be the paint correction process. Look at used wash soap, red knot super drying towel. The most fulfilling part of every detailer's job is getting the paint perfected, and we're going to be doing that with a series of polishers, products, pads, everything you can think of that exists in a detail shop is going to remove these swirls and scratches out of the paint. Now first I'm going to review what each of these tools does, and then we're going to just hop into the polishing process. So normally you see this tool with a big wool pad on it, and that's usually used for some really heavy correction, and we're probably not going to be using that on this car. Probably be able to, because it's a single stage paint, use just a microfiber pad with some heavy cutting compound on our orbital. What we've got on the polisher here though is this little attachment. It's really great for going into fog light holes, around the taillights, underneath the mirrors, the door handles, that sort of stuff. Really one of my favorite small area polishers. The other one that I really like is the Roops Hybrid Nano, and this tool has a little rotary attachment for it. It's a little bit bigger than this here, but this works really well for correcting pillars, mirrors, really any small areas around trim and stuff. And we've got a little bit bigger polisher here. This one has a lot more power, and this one's an orbital polisher, so as you can see it orbits around the center. This one is a 3-inch and works really well for some of those same things, but also like headlights, but really just any kind of smaller areas that you need a little bit more power than just a little tiny polisher like this. And then our go-to, this is the Roops Bigfoot 21. This one here uses a 6-inch pad and does almost all of the heavy correction work. We've got a little finishing pad on there, really soft foam density. We've got a little bit heavier cut foam pad here. Doesn't squeeze nearly as much and has a lot more rigidity, so this one will cut a lot more. And then of course our heavy cutting pad, the microfiber, great tool there. Then we've got our compound, Americana 1500. This is not really a heavy cut compound, but has a really good finish, really good, decent amount of cut. Great for this single stage paint here. And then we've got our finesse, and this is a really great finishing polish. We're gonna use that with the black foam pad to get the paint nearly flawless. And then before we coat the car, we're gonna use the Americana stripper. Before we start the correction process, I'm going to go over that tape line with this actual plastic or PVC tape. It's the 3M Platinum. This tape is really great for areas that you're going to be polishing, just because it holds up a lot more against that heat and the polish residue. You don't end up picking up the adhesive residue from the back of the tape and rubbing it all over the car. So now I'm going to get started on the compounding process. Going to take off this foam pad, switch to microfiber cutting pad, and get to compounding. Now I already did a little bit of wet sanding, got kind of ahead of myself trying to level out the touch-up a little bit. Ended up just reapplying half of the touch-up, but now we're going to go on to the compounding phase. I'm going to be using that microfiber pad I was talking about on the Rupes polisher, and we're going to be using the 1500. So to apply this, I'm going to spread it out over the whole pad to prime the pad. I'm going to use my fingers to actually work that into the pad. That ensures that the entire face of this microfiber pad is going to be working the paint. I'm going to add just a couple more drops. Before I get started, I'll place the polisher onto the surface, spread that out a little bit, and then I'm going to work in crosshatch pattern. So that means that I'm going to go one direction, and then I'm going to go the other direction, and then again back, almost like a checkerboard. So I just realized that I forgot to apply the blue tape. Gonna do that real quick. We didn't reach the edge yet, so no issues there. And I realized while we were compounding this that I'm gonna have to be working a little bit smaller sections with the 1500, just because it is kind of more of a medium cut compound. We're gonna work really small sections to ensure we get the complete defects removal. happy with how this is turning out, honestly, with the microfiber pad. So we're gonna just switch onto the rotary. Wasn't sure ahead of time what was gonna be needed, but this paint, like the last video, it's hammered. So we're gonna be going all out on it, using the heavy cut with the rotary and getting those scratches out. So a couple days ago, we finished up the compounding process with the rotary and the wool pad and the 1500. Now we're gonna go on to the polishing process. First, before we get to the black pad and the final finishing, we're gonna use this medium cut foam pad, the yellow pad, with Americana Finesse, and just polish up the surface, remove all the compounding haze, rotary trails, that sort of stuff. And then we're gonna finish that out with the black pad. Now we finished up the correction process. The polishing was really intensive. Had to be really careful because the paint started to get really thin, especially on the doors and the roof where that old single stage paint was. It had obviously been buffed several times before, and unfortunately we couldn't get the paint flawless, but we got it nearly flawless. That's all we can really ask for on a 30-year-old car, and really happy with how it turned out. Next video, we're gonna be going on to the trim restoration, doing all the accessories like the windshield wipers, and possibly taking care of some of the wheel stuff too. So make sure